I recall a certain summer day, back when I was 12 years old. It was hot, humid, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. I remember looking up into the empty blue blanket above and thinking to myself, wait a minute, that's space. I remember realizing that at any moment, anything in the entire universe could simply show up here on Earth. Naturally, it sent me into existential dread, and kind of broke my brain. That epiphany was the first of many that led me to acknowledge and become enthralled in the beauty and complexity of space. Since that point, I've spent an embarrassing amount of time researching space, reading articles, watching movies, and playing games, all centered around the topic of the infinite universe we inhabit. One thing that always disappointed me, however, was how far-fetched it all seemed. Intergalactic society, alien civilizations, and Dyson spheres weren't something to look forward to in my lifetime. That was until I started to read and learn about Mars, more specifically the future visitation and colonization of it. The fact that organizations such as SpaceX, NASA, and Mars One all have plans of establishing a human presence on the Red Planet was mind-boggling, and really something to look forward to. So what will our colonization of Mars actually look like? And how might it benefit our society? To start, we'll launch our discussion by going over where we are in our quest to conquer Mars. Next, we'll explore what the transition to colonize will require. And lastly, we'll answer the question of why Mars matters to us. Unalarmingly and thankfully, I'm not the only person who's obsessed over the Red Planet. Mars has captivated humans for thousands of years, with popular myth and folklore references to it dating back to ancient human civilizations. Take, for example, the Greek god of war, fire, and lust, Ares, who was often represented through Mars. Or its namesake, the Roman god of war, well, Mars. Regardless of our scientific capabilities, Mars has had a place in our lives for all of human history, and that very fact is what makes this so revolutionary. The leaps which are being made today in efforts of reaching the Martian landscape feel as if they're being pulled right out of a science fiction film. For example, CEO of SpaceX, Elon Musk, aims to send 1 million people to Mars in a fully fledged colony by the year 2050. Now, as outlandish and, well, quite frankly, unrealistic this proposal is, the idea and motivation behind it is the exciting part. We have thousands, dare I say hundreds of thousands of enthusiasts, scientists, entrepreneurs, and legislators who are all beginning to see the potential and accept this monumental change as an oncoming reality. And Elon Musk isn't the only visionary with a plan. NASA in recent years has been developing many newly funded projects that involve the Red Planet, one of these being Project Gateway. According to NASA, the Gateway will be an outpost orbiting the moon that provides vital support for a sustainable, long-term human return to the lunar surface, as well as a staging point for deep space exploration. With this project, NASA plans to enable rockets, such as the Orion spacecraft, to dock at Gateway to reach a proper trajectory towards Mars and conduct tests and repairs as needed. This may still sound like fantasy to you, but NASA plans to use Gateway as part of their planned 2024 moon landing. In other words, these missions are just around the corner, and if they are as successful as we hope, it will provide the next stepping stone in humanity's space agenda. So, assuming these upcoming projects go well, and assuming we have the proper foothold in space to carry out a Martian landing, what would it actually look like? Well, to start, these future astronauts are going to need a place to stay. If you didn't already know, Mars is extremely uninhabitable, with temperatures averaging at around negative 81 degrees Fahrenheit, as well as a completely unbreathable atmosphere. If it's getting harder to understand why we would want to go here, bear with me. The building that will be housing our Martian explorers will need to balance temperature, oxygen levels, gravity, radiation, as well as being durable in the face of dust storms, of which there are plenty on Mars. The housing unit will also need to provide ample space to stretch, because these astronauts are going to be there for quite some time. Luckily, these ideas aren't just theoretical. In 2015, NASA launched a design competition over who would create the best prototype Martian habitat, with a winning prize of $500,000. The first place winner, AI Space Factory, an architecture company centered around interplanetary technologies in NYC, designed what may be the most realistic and feasible design for a Martian habitat in 2019. According to CNBC, quote, "The cone-like pods will be 15 feet high and 8 feet in diameter, and they would sit vertically on Mars' dusty, rocky surface. As well as this, the prototype home will be able to be 3D printed in no more than 30 hours, with materials straight from the planet." This self-sustaining design is crucial to a Mars habitat, as resources will be extremely difficult, and more importantly, extremely expensive to transport from Earth. The pods will be divided into 4 sections for growing food, cooking and performing tests, sleeping, and one for leisure, of course. Each floor will also feature a window to allow natural light to flow in, but not allowing radiation to breach the outer shell. So that's where Martians will live, but what will they eat? Obviously, the average Martian won't be able to go down to their local Walmart to grab some Funyuns, at least not yet. So, naturally, these astronauts will need to grow and produce their own food on Mars. Now, you may be asking yourself right now, how in the heck could you possibly grow food in this hellscape? And believe me, I know it sounds impossible, but thankfully, there are ways. A hypothetical Martian garden would involve a controlled environment to simulate Earth-like temperatures, as well as a level carbon dioxide to oxygen ratio. And it's widely believed that Martian soil is similar enough to many Earth soils that it could be used to grow plants. According to the American Chemical Society, scientists have conducted plant experiments simulating Martian conditions using volcanic soil in Hawaii, which is known for its similarity to Martian soil. These experiments found that plants can actually grow in these soils. And to put the hypothetical Martian icing on the hypothetical Martian cake, the claim can be made that less water is required to grow crops on Mars due to its 38% gravity in comparison to Earth. While it may seem like Mars is a completely uninhabitable place, it kind of is, but that won't stop us from trying. Now, there must be some overall purpose for spending billions of dollars to go to Mars, right? I mean, no one in their right mind would send colonies of people to a barren wasteland just for funsies, right? Well, the answer is yes, there are substantial reasons for humans to explore Mars. One great motivator is that there's much to be learned about Mars that can teach us about Earth. You see, Mars is the most similar planet in the solar system to Earth by far, and before humans were ever around, way before humans were ever around, it's believed that Mars had a thicker atmosphere, which kept it warmer. This leads many scientists and astronomers to hypothesize that life could have existed on Mars far before it did on Earth. The European Space Agency claims, evidence suggests that Mars was once full of water, warmer, and had a thicker atmosphere, offering for a potentially habitable environment. Understanding how life could have existed on Mars and how it came to be can help to teach us about life on Earth and how it came to be. As well as learning about our planet, we can also learn about how to protect and sustain it. Many of the technologies required in making Mars habitable for human life can be translated directly to issues here on Earth, such as sustainable plant growth, reusable rocket fuel, and chemically engineered water, to name a few. As Earth's climate crisis faces us today, learning how to implement human technologies on a near impossible living space is a great way to teach us how to implement those same sustainable solutions right here on Earth. While I have covered a lot today in this very short time, we've only just scratched the surface of what's possible with this little red dot floating through space. And as time goes on, there will only be more to come. From orbiting spaceports to 3D printed homes to climate change, the colonization of Mars is not only growing as a realistic venture for the human race, but also an extremely important one. So the next time you find yourself outside on a beautiful summer day, I implore you to look up at the sky and see if you can imagine humanity's next leap: Mars.